and welcome back. We're picking up where we left off last time, Strategic Command World War I in the Cold Arms campaign on the Entente side. This is the second part of the third stream. And I think, at least in the case of the Ottoman sector, I think we have the Ottomans on the run. So at this point, we've just got them down to Medina here. No signs of reinforcements coming in, because they have to come through this area, so we'd see them coming. We'd have reports of them coming down. They got entrenchment 2. We do have 2 shells, so let's de-entrench them and get rid of that unit. Okay, we are slowly making progress over there. I could try to come down either of these roads. We did see an Ottoman unit here, so we'd probably be exposing the town in our rear if we could do that. Slowly inch our way forward there. I'll take a 0-0 against an HQ. We've got a very small chance to be rounded up, and that roundup would be useful. Reconnaissance, we can see the HQ is in the rear there. Slip back to the port. What's the supply situation here? It may not be worth chasing them at this point. Yeah, we need to go through that town if we're going to advance. And I can't even encircle the town, so it's probably not worth chasing them at this point. We're going to make them come to us if we're going to keep this up. They're probably not going to willingly come to us. Okay, next turn we can operate the artillery over to the eastern front. Was it the Russians or the Serbians who just picked up the... Either? Oh, we picked up infantry weapons. Oh, it was, infantry warfare we just picked up. Fair enough. Can you advance? Yes, you can advance. Let's do that. Okay, so on the next turn, the now upgraded Serbian artillery will completely de-entrench this Austrian corps, and then we will begin attacking it ruthlessly. Okay, so there's where the other sub is. Well, I think there's 2 subs out there. Yeah, there's the second sub. Let's swap the position of those 2. That way we can reinforce that one when the opportunity presents itself. That's the Serbian front. The Italian front is going to be, in most cases, likely going to be quite boring. Unless something goes really wrong. The Austrians just, like, forget to entrench or something. 1 to 2, if it was actually more than a detachment, it would be worth taking, but it isn't. Okay, I think it's time to do an attack here. So recon, go in. They didn't manage to get up to 6 entrenchments, so we should probably actually wait for the next turn, but we're going to try it this turn. And then we turn the trench around. Here we go. So that'll be a national morale objective that'll hit the Austrians. 1 to 2s I'll take against the Austro-Hungarians. Because as you can see, the 1 to 2s have a chance of turning into 1 or 0 to 2s. Although that one ended up being a 2 to 2, which is maybe not a great trade. These guys really do need to reinforce, so we're not going to be attacking here. I don't think I got the... Yeah, we only got 2 shells, and they're pretty entrenched. Undersupplied but attached to an SHQ, or an HQ. Let's move the planes over to a place where we can have better supply. And then we'll move the artillery there. Well, that's the Eastern Front for the moment. National morale hit on the Austro-Hungarians. We've got the destroyer up here, so if the subs start being a little bit more aggressive, we can do stuff there. Got sub hunting over here. There's the subs. We'll send the planes after it first. Dives trying to hide. Find it again with the destroyer. Destroyer sends out torpedo, or attempts to shell it. You, we want to recover. We'll get you up to 9. 9's close enough to fold it. We'll probably start doing stuff with 9. It dives, and we don't manage to do anything. The light cruisers should probably repair. I think we want the planes for the front, so you're not going to be doing anything there. Ow. But we found Dreadnought. We're at a strike range for you, not for you. Okay, there's the carrier. So the armored cruiser finish off the carrier. Battle cruiser against battleships. I'm tempted. This is probably not a good trade. Ah, yeah, definitely not a good trade. I pushed the wrong button. Not what I meant to do with that, but it's been done. I was trying to do the waypoint there, so we didn't hit our own mines, because you know hitting your own mines is bad. Here we go. No one was in the air. Okay, these guys to sink subs. Just a little bit better. Take the battleships back into port in case we need to repair them. Well, so we can repair them in case this naval engagement lasts for more than a couple turns. There we go. Found them again. Don't got anything to take advantage of them the second time, but found them again. Okay, not necessarily the best of trades versus the German Navy there, but we've got some fighting going on. At least for the short term, I think we can handle the attrition better than they can. We've only got 4 shells between the two of us? Okay. I was hoping we were able to bombard Liege to Kingdom Come and back, but 4 shells is not enough for that. and you're not entrenched. So we can 2 shells very happily get rid of what remains of your entrenchment. That's the tool. Upgrade you. We probably want to upgrade you guys so we can bring you in a bit. Upgrade you. We've got the artillery, so let's de-entrench you. Zero to 5 is tempting, but if I do that, this guy is very screwed. In this case, the cavalry's going to have a bad day, but we're getting rid of the infantry here. So they may take the cavalry out, but they probably won't. But they won't necessarily be able to do both. That's what's going on here. Oh, and I can push you. Okay, let's do that. It's maybe not the smartest of choices, but we can do that. Okay, so I think that's about as good as we're going to be able to get on the French front. Unless the British artillery had more shells, and they don't quite have enough shells. We're dealing with a 7 entrenched, or 4 entrenched. I can only get 2 or 4 shells, and that's about half of what we want. Okay. Oh, I suppose in this case we can bomb this up. And I think that is all the fronts. Middle East, Eastern, Serbian, and Western fronts, and the naval front. Probably should do purchases first. Yeah, probably do want to pick up the last artillery as the British. Can't afford to pick up artillery weapons, but we can pick it up after it deploys. So we'll get the artillery going. Kick Patan as the French as an HQ. Little tempting for deploying to the Italian front. So I suppose we could save it for that. We're saving up for artillery. Serbia really isn't saving up. It's about to have a pretty heavy fight, though, so let's not spend anything. Well, we don't have anything to spend on the... Then we could do core here. Okay, so it looks like going over the research. Americans can't quite afford infantry weapons yet. They should be able next turn. Russians can't do any research because they're actually research camp. They need to finish something first. The Serbians better. The Italians are working the artillery, so they should save up actually for the artillery proper. French are resource camps, so they need to finish something. So okay, that's an argument for the French saving up for their core, their HQ. Okay. Let's see how the Central Powers respond to the confusing situation. Loss of grain in Galicia. German morale is boosted by the use of unrestricted naval warfare. U.S. protests the unrestricted naval warfare. Entente naval units north of Scotland blockade imports to Germany. Entente naval units blockade imports to Germany in the North Sea. German action on the northern blockade line interrupts that shipping as well. Victor Chapman becomes the first U.S. pilot to die in the war. France develops fighter development level 3. Breakthrough on command and control for the Italians. Infantry weapons 1 completed for the Serbians. Russia develops infantry warfare level 1. That's the summary of our MPPs. They've recovered the artillery, keeping it in the front lines. Destroyer contacts destroyer. Dreadnought hits light cruiser. Destroyer versus destroyer. Destroyer versus dreadnought. Destroyer versus destroyer. Cruiser versus dreadnought. Oh, managed to evade the damage. That's good for them. Light cruiser versus dreadnought. Losing the destroyers is a little annoying. We're losing versus surface ships, because then we don't have them to fight the subsurface ships. I would not be surprised if we're fighting the entire German Navy at this point. Okay. Yeah, I was expecting we would eventually lose that cavalry. And I do realize I forgot to reinforce the Belgrade garrison. Although, here we go. So, we finally lost Belgrade. Loss of grain from Galicia leads to hunger in Austria-Hungary. German morale is boosted for the use of unrestricted naval warfare. Serbian morale falls due to loss to Belgrade. Serbian government moves to Niche. USA protests the use of unrestricted naval warfare. USA protests against the enforcement of the Northern Blockade. Bulgaria takes an increasing interest in the events in Serbia. Taunt naval units north of Scotland blockade imports to Germany. Taunt naval units blockade imports to Germany in the North Sea. German action on the Northern Blockade Line interrupts the flow of neutral merchant shipping. Chief of the Imperial General Staff, William Robertson. To further our campaign in Mesopotamia, we could provide the local commander of Basar with sufficient reinforcements to enable his headquarters in the Tigris Corps to take the field. Providing the extra forces necessary from India will cost us 200 MPP at the cost of 50 MPP per turn for 4 turns. Doing so will provide us with an HQ in the Tigris Corps at Basara. Would you authorize the payment so that General Muad, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, can lead our Mesopotamian expeditionary force into battle? So service in France and Gallipoli prior to taking command of the Tigris Corps in the summer of 1916 was to lead his force victory, capturing the location, which has already fallen, although it was not to see the end of the war as he died of cholera in November 1917. It is recommended saying yes to this as deploying your own forces, your own forces will have the same potential for victorious offensive in this war. You know what? We'll go ahead and do this. I think more troops, especially another HQ, would not be bad. Third Corps, get this deployed to one of our ports. And a Russian sub. Russian sub with no place to deploy. For some reason. Okay, let's get this sub. Out and about. Now I can probably deploy that sub. It's probably one of those that's got to deploy. Yeah, let's go deploy up in that port. And then we have the 5th and the 9th Corps for the French to deploy. Okay. Mesopotamia don't really have any shells, so unless someone's not entrenched, and someone is not entrenched, we're not going to be doing much offensive. Okay. So we'll start sieging there. Okay. You can strategically deploy. And yeah, we did lose Belgrade, which is a little annoying. Although, one could maybe make an argument that was going to be an inevitable. Probably should have happened earlier. Serbian artillery really only have one shell. I guess something we did caused it to lose all its shells that it had been accumulating. Probably upgrading it. Caused it to lose all its shells accumulating. I do really need it to have 5 shells for that offensive to work. So I guess we're not going anywhere quick. Okay. Can the Serbians? No, but they'll probably be able to do it next turn. Stand up the replacement corps that we lost. What is the mobilization on Bulgaria? 89%. So they're real close. They should be rolling into the war soon. Although we're pretty positioned to deal with them, so that shouldn't be a concern. We'll see how many more forces that pulls in. Would not be surprised if that causes a little bit of commotion in the nice big exposed front there. Now 3 shells, they got 5 entrenchment in most of these locations. Should probably wait a couple turns for the shelling, or for the shell resupplies. Unless the Germans have abandoned entrenchment. It looks like they have not. So that's the Eastern Front. Got a little bit of a breakthrough down here in the south. We can rotate the trench there. You to actually dig in, take up that trench. We now have 6 shells between them. 6 for 7, I think, is good enough. Can we get you to do the reconnaissance? No, it needs to be the Northern Group one. Okay, Liege has been returned to Belgium. That's a good move. And the Germans are getting pushed back. We destroyed the German artillery, we damaged the German HQ. For lesson run, that's not bad. And now we've got the chaos that is the coastal front. Got them down to one hit. Do I have anything to deliver that one hit? No. Oh, I guessed wrong. Did he go that way? That's... I didn't expect him to go that far. No, I don't know where he got off to. Oh, that was the wrong move. That was very much the wrong move. Battleship can probably clean up the light cruiser. Got no strikes left, so we'll move you back to port. You've got one strike left, but you got no move. You've got no strikes left, so let's move you back to port. Unless we got another dreadnought we can do that with. We'll do the 3-3 trade here. We're going to get Pip for 4. But we can get you back to port. Let's do that. So someone who has more experience with this naval warfare than me would probably have to chime in on whether or not this was a series of good trades or a series of very bad trades. I suspect it is the latter. Although I could be wrong. It could be the former. This might have been decent trading. Ow. That was a mistake. Okay, I got a couple subs that can try to, or destroyers that can come down to the rear of this fight. They're probably not going to be useful. Yeah, it looks like they're just out of range on the useful things for them to attack. Although, they can come in and do what they're doing right now, which is attack a submarine. That's a decent trade. Okay. Yeah, I think that's all the ships in the North Sea area that can come and join in. That port. I could repair a little bit of the French fleet and maybe set it up if we were desperate. Not that desperate, I think. Yeah, we're getting raining in the Alps, so nothing to do in the Alps. Oops. Well, the destroyer accidentally doing its job, so I can't complain too much there. Found the submarine again. Our aircraft is not in strike range, so the aircraft's not going to participate this time. I can just guess that there's maybe something there. Nope, got lucky and hit the sub. Okay, so I got 3 subs out here, which is a little annoying. There's not much I can do about that. We only got 1 destroyer. Although I'd rather have the core back rather than upgrade those battalions. Okay. We can upgrade you. Preparation for that fight starting, because I think that fight's about to start. Here you go. So that's the Eastern Front, Western Front, the Naval Front. I've got as the British here, we got a really big bill due soon, and repairs for all those warships. Cavalry Corps, we'll get that in the queue for replacement. Italians can afford themselves an artillery. Serbians, we're going to save it for that replacement. Okay, let's get into the research. So America is going to start on infantry weapons. Russia can spend 110. But it just finished infantry warfare. It should probably continue on infantry warfare at that pace. So let's put it back in infantry warfare. Serbians are saving up for a corps replacement. The Italians have spent... The French can spend 40. Although the only thing they'd spend for 40 could be on airship. We've already got the fighter, and the fighter is what just finished. That's why we've got a free 40. So I think we're good for the moment. The French. So the French will probably pick up a corps. The British, for once, actually have a lot, but they got a real big bill coming due. Oh, they finished Infantry 1. Let's get Infantry 2 going. And might as well get the Artillery 1, or Artillery 2 going as well. Oh, and production wouldn't be a bad idea. This will help get things to be cheaper. The next industry. Here we go. Spent the British stuff. Wasn't hard to spend the British stuff. Let's be fair. So the French are going to get a unit. What I'm going to get is the French. Oh, I could save it for, and I'll save it for French Corps, French HQ. Cycle the turn. Let's see how the Central Powers handle the evolving situation in the North Sea. Loss of grain from Galicia is leading to more hunger in Hungary. Bulgaria prepares for war, so they are coming. Development infrastructure between Petrograd and Murmansk nears completion. General Mod takes command at Basara. So we have a second HQ there, and a second colonial corps. Entente naval units north of Scotland blockade imports into Germany and in the North Sea, and the fighting there is still interrupting their own shipments. Command and control development. Infantry warfare level 2. Got spying to level 2, so we maxed out the spying there. UK develops industrial tech level 2. Artillery weapons 2 for the French. French develops production level 1. Breakthrough on artillery for the Serbians. Russians develop trench warfare level 4. Breakthrough industrial tech for the Americans. Someone hit our mines. They didn't refocus them because we didn't see who was hitting the mines, but someone hit the mines. Thinking on the withdrawal, someone hit the mines. Not my destroyers. How else am I going to sink those subs? Okay, the subs do successfully disengage from the channel, which is a little annoying. Would like to be able to send them to the bottom, but... These lands are definitely getting, on some of the fronts, particularly holy. Lots of grain from Galicia leads to hunger in Austria-Hungary. Fighting erupts between Albanian factions. Taunt naval units north of Scotland and in the North Sea are continuing their blockade, and fighting on it, still interdicting the blockade. 10 people die in the Preparedness Day bombing in San Francisco. Revenge Dreadnought sunk, Tiger Battlecruiser sunk, Destroyer sunk, and location damage for shipping. Yeah, and we got interdiction on both blockade lines still. First Sea Lord, Admiral Sir Henry Jackson. The unit of submarines is preparing for service in UK waters, but suggested we send them instead to the Russian border of Archangel. The cost of sending them will be 50 MPPs, and the Russians will ship them by barge. The Kronstadt, where they should arrive at the beginning of September. Would you want to authorize the sending of these submarines to Archangel? Gives the opportunity to go between Sweden and Germany. The ability Russia would pull out of the war, submarines would probably be lost. We're actually going to say no here. I don't think we need the submarines in that area. We could use Russians for just as easily. Chief of the Imperial General Staff, William Robertson. General Major Maud has taken the unusual steps of requesting an artillery unit be provided to the Mesopotamian Expeditionary Force. This would drastically increase the likelihood of success in the campaign. Costs us 200 MPP at 50 per turn for 4 turns. I believe we're actually at the artillery cap, so right now saying yes to this would just give us a free over-camp artillery, so we'll take that. We might not keep it on that front, we might move it someplace else, but you definitely want that. And we got the Russian HQ showing up, which we do want. I think around here will work. I can't imagine that Bulgaria is far from joining the war. 99%. Okay, so they're joining annoyingly on the next turn, so we're not going to get first strike on them. But they're coming. They're just not here yet. So we're ready to sort of descend upon Bulgaria as soon as they join the war. We may see some Ottoman forces come up as well to help the Bulgarians. Is there a well, no, there is a reason. You got involved in some fighting, so you spent a shell. Fair enough. Let's get that DD firing. Get them off the shipping line. Okay. We're gonna try doing something here. Oh, we took the guy out. I'm not gonna advance. We're gonna let them take that spot back if they want that spot back. This is because there's a German guy going in. Although it is a little bit tempting because then we can make use of this port. Whereas if we let them take that spot back, then in theory they could shoot the port up with infantry. I'm realizing that I've let this part go a little bit too long, so we're not going to do that this whole turn. I'm going to put the part break in here. If you're watching on YouTube, there will be a part up tomorrow. If you're watching on Twitch, I'm going to take a break to replace the cup of tea. I will be back as soon as the cup of tea is made, and we will continue the war in the east, and the war in the west, and the war in sea. I'll take one quick glance at the loss report. I think, yeah, we've taken a lot more losses because we've been losing the UK Navy, but we're still over 50% of the losses on the Central Powers. So the Central Powers are struggling there. And yeah, you can do the math and figure out whether or not that's going well for us. I don't think it is. Although we can probably handle the loss ratio better than they can. We lost 5 dreadnoughts to 3. Although they've lost 2 pre-dreadnoughts. We lost 2 battle cruisers. They've lost a lot more destroyers, but we're really not raiding them with subs, so that's kind of a wash. In the national morale-wise, 84, 85, 88, 86 with Belgrade going, 81 for the Russians. They're down to 65, down to 57, and down to 22. So the Ottomans have been pretty stable. Although that's because we're not necessarily killing a lot of Ottoman forces. Although, we're threatening Medina. We got some stuff in the works. We'll see how things go. If you're watching, I hope you've been enjoying. If you're watching on YouTube, part up tomorrow. If you're watching on Twitch, again, we're going to take the tea break. So with that, I'm going to wish you all the best of luck and a good time until the next part. And with that, bye for now.